clearly intending to destroy our facility.
Shields are down.
I literally cannot stop playing long games. I don't know what it is, but I keep finding myself getting roped into these super massive forever games like this one, the first Descendant, which, as you can see, is a third-person shooter that kind of plays a lot like Destiny, but also kind of like a hero shooter in the way that you pick a character which has a certain set of abilities, and then you play them until you kind of reach the maximum level, and then increase as a sort of overall skill level through account level and equipment level. And this is also where the real grind of the game starts, where you kind of have to run the same missions over and over again to try and get materials that only drop, has a certain drop rate, a certain percentage of chance to appear, in order to get some of the best equipment and unlock new kind of characters. It's an extremely okay game, especially for the price of free. But the amount of time you spend on it while looking over on the shelves and on your backlog, you kind of feel a level of shame starting to build up, like I should be playing all these other games. And you get a little bit nostalgic for the Xbox 360, PS3 times, back when you played like $60 for a game and then it was only 4 or 5 hours long. What a ripoff! You cannot argue with the value you get out of modern games. But it does get tricky if you're the kind of person like me who kind of want to play a little bit of everything. New games, retro games, live service games even sometimes like this one. I also played some other new massive games earlier this year. Like a Dragon, Yakuza 8, that was a huge game for 50 plus hours as well. I started on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but then I got distracted by Dragon's Dogma 2 when that one came out, which was also another 50 hours. At least. And I never even completed that one before I just completely got burned out on long games and just been playing like short games for a couple of months. But I feel like I'm ready to jump back into long games. I'm actually kind of looking forward to the new Star Wars Outlaws that comes out, I think it's next week. That was very much a game that looked like a fake game for a long time. Ubisoft did the classic thing when they revealed it, that it looked just a little too good, too smooth, had a little too good effects to the degree where you don't think that it's believable. But then the previews started coming out and I was watching the IGN preview here on YouTube and yep, that's definitely, now it's definitely back to being a normal game. It's just janky enough. I just don't hope that it's too janky to the degree that it's downright broken. It's probably one of the reasons that I'm not going to pay full price for this one. I'm going to sign up for that whole Ubisoft Plus subscription service thing just for a month to check it out. And you know Ubisoft games are gonna get massively discounted later. So yeah, I'll make a decision at a later point if I want to buy the actual physical game or not. But yeah, I did also play some shorter games this year. There was one which I thought was gonna be long. Parasite Eve, a 2-disc game that I played before, but never got all the way through. But yeah, I started over. And once I got through it, I realized it was only like 8 hours long. Delicious! More short games, please and thank you. And for those who do want to play more, it does have a new Game Plus mode where you can go into the Chrysler building, which is like 60 or 80 floors. That is just a dungeon grind all the way to the top. And then supposedly you get the real ending. But I've seen it on YouTube and the real ending doesn't have a full motion video cutscene. So is it even a real ending? I don't know, but I liked it. Great game, Parasite Eve. Anyone should play it. And speaking of Parasite Eve, check this one out. This is .45 Parabellum Bloodhound, game very heavily mechanically inspired by Parasite Eve, from the developer Sukeban Games, who you might know from the cyberpunk bartending action game Nirvana, and no release date on this one yet, but I was reading up on the presser, and it says that this is gonna be a game for both veteran gamers and also for something called vibe-centric gamers. Man, I wish I was cool enough to be a vibe-centric gamer. We are currently here at an undisclosed location because we are looking for a place when you're out here in a nice forest. We're looking for a place to whip it out, and by it I'm of course talking about your handheld video game system, because we all saw the commercials for the Nintendo Switch, you know, people sitting in an airport happily enjoying video games, a rooftop party where a woman brings a Nintendo Switch, much to the delight of everyone already there. But that's not reality. One thing these people have in common is that they're all young and attractive. And you're not young and attractive. You know exactly what happens if you pull out a Game Boy or a Nintendo Switch. And maybe you didn't notice. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you didn't notice the dirty looks. Maybe you thought they were just spitting on the ground, and you didn't even see that maybe they picked up a rock when they saw you with that Nintendo Switch in your hand. But for the rest of us, well, we gotta know when to hide our power levels and make sure that nobody ever discovers that you know what a video game are. Even here out in nature, we have to talk with a lowered voice in case anyone is listening. But I wanted to let you know a secret. I'm going to show you something a bit secret here. Hang on. What I wanted to show you here today is this. Looks just like a normal Apple Watch, but check this out. Now that emulators are available on iOS, they have this emulator called ArcEmu, which is an emulator for the Apple Watch. So you can finally stealthily play video games without anyone knowing. We just have to check. Nobody's around. Okay, nobody's around. Okay, I'll show you a bit of the features here. Right now we have a fan translation of Shin Megami Tensei The Devil Children Running, which is a Game Boy Color game, but it runs all kinds of Game Boy games, original Game Boy Advance, so you can play all the games you want without anyone knowing your power level. We can see we have like Doom for the Game Boy Advance here, and naturally I have to say, with these controls here, where you only have one hand to control everything, this is literally the absolute worst way to play any Game Boy game, but you absolutely can. And if you really absolutely need to play video games and do it incognito without anyone. Actually, you don't really have to use your watch because ArcEmu also works on your iPhone that you can play in the safety of your own home. The game supports save states that you can move between your phone and your watch, which I'm trying to do here, but they updated the app. And the old save states don't work with the new version of the app, but you can still load from hard saves, which I'm doing right here. It's been like a month or so since I've messed with the app last time. They've updated it quite a bit, but a setting that you might not be apparent here from the video is a sort of vibration setting. There's this soft iPhone vibration, which works really well in contextualizing the button presses. I'm not usually a huge fan of on-screen buttons, but the feedback is actually really great. It really feels like you are in control of the game. And of course, it's pretty easy to be in control of a turn-based role-playing game like this one. But let's take a look at a different game. It's more action-oriented controls. And here we can see it with Kung Fu Master, an original Game Boy game, where we have turned the phone on its side. And that's actually the way I sort of prefer to play, keeping the hands a little bit more apart. And Kung Fu Master is great. Game Boy sequel to Kung Fu on the arcade and on the NES. And this is a game I remember beating on original hardware on a Game Boy I borrowed from a classmate for like a week or something. And once you get good at it and you are able to play through it in one sitting, it's like 8 minutes long or something. So a really short game, but fun. Let's take a look at another game. This time it's Car Battler Joe for the Game Boy Advance. Let's say I'm not too happy with the button placement, default button placement. You can just press the pen icon and just move them around any way you want. The default setting actually had the start and select button in the middle of the Game Boy Advance screen, so I moved them over to the side here. And this is a game I wasn't aware of until I was looking into some cool Game Boy Advance games. So it's another great platform for discovery. And I don't think ArcEmu is the kind of emulator where you're supposed to have like full ROM sets lying about. It's just for one of two games. I mean, you're just playing games on your phone here. It's not like you're on a fully fledged like modded Game Boy or like one of those Chinese handhelds where you can just fill full of games and play them with real buttons. It's just on your phone, man. And it's $3. You got $3, right? Car Battler Joe looks to be a game about kind of like an action RPG where you kind of smash your car into other cars, and later in the game it also seems like you get guns and stuff like that. Upgrade your car, earn money, upgrade your car some more. It's a bit like a Twisted Metal, the RPG. I'll definitely be playing this one some more at a future point. Let's take a look at a final game here, back on the Game Boy Color. This is Bionic Commando Elite Forces. Plays a lot like the original NES game. Very, very cool and hard game. Can't jump, and you have to use your grappling hook to get around. You might have noticed by now that I haven't shown off any graphical options in the emulator, but that is because there aren't any. Not that it really matters though. I think their standard settings looks great. There aren't any shimmering, as far as I can tell. But they have a standard non-stretched resolution that just looks fantastic. So yeah, it's a really easy to use, no frills Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color emulator. As soon as you install it, all the file associations are there. So let's say you get a game off from your completely legal backup resource. Then you just click on it and it'll be opened in the emulator and added to the emulator files. And as soon as you open the ArcEmu emulator on your watch, it'll ask to copy the ROMs over to your watch. So easy to operate, easy to play, and as I said, it was like $3, and I've certainly paid more for less myself. Great news, tremendous things are happening in the Switch collection. I just got two new Switch games, new. Shredder's Revenge here, the Anniversary Edition, and the other one being Disco Elysium, the final cut. And with these two games, we are up to 299 games in the Switch collection. And I know what you're thinking. Have you played all of those games? No, I've not played all of the games yet. There is a kind of weird feeling surrounding the Switch. It feels like well, it feels like a lot of video games these days, even though they aren't. Almost feel like they're kind of like a low print run, even though they aren't. There's a lot of games you see come and go. They come out and you keep an eye on them, put them on a list, and all of a sudden they're out of stock and the prices skyrocket. And in the end, you just have to sort of go by your gut feeling and ask yourself, is this a game I should pick up now? And a lot of times the FOMO gets the better of me and I end up buying games even though they become massively discounted later. For instance, I tried to arrange the collection here where I put a lot of games in the front. These are games that I very much want to play from the collection next. But speaking of one such game here, we'll start from the bottom here. We have Undernauts, Labyrinth of Yomi. That was a game that probably had a pretty low print run because suddenly the prices for it exploded. But then they dropped again, so they probably just printed some more. You never know. Who doesn't want to make money? Just print more games. Here's another one. Crayon Shinchan. Something Coal Town. This is a new release, which I bought with a batch of games recently from PlayAsia. Live Alive, a game I've kind of wanted fan translated for years. And then they made this amazing remake, which I was really looking forward to. But before it came out, I started playing the fan translation. And now I don't know. It kind of put the brakes on something because it didn't make me want to feel to start over with stuff I already know. But I still really want to play it because it looks beautiful. Fist of the North Star. I love everything Fist of the North Star, and it's just a fun cross-up game, fitness boxing, and harder than you'd think. I don't know, jumping back and forth in place and boxing straight ahead of you is well, if you're not very coordinated, then then it's certainly difficult. But that's what it's all about, right? Training to get better. Another Code recollection. This is I want to say it was a re-release. I forget what it is. I think it's a re-release of the Nintendo DS game and the Wii game. And sort of a remake put out here. But that's also a game that kind of came and went. It came out earlier this year and yeah, nobody's talking about it, which is weird. And it's one of the Nintendo's own IPs, so I thought might as well just pick it up because Nintendo's own games don't really seem to go down in price. So when it did get a little bit of a discount, I thought I might as well just jump on it before it disappears, which it probably maybe won't. I don't know. But let's grab some random games here out of the collection, one from each shelf, because there's a lot of bangers. I've seen a lot of people have bigger collections, way bigger collections than the 300 games that I'm up to. But but I don't know. I've tried to collect games not just from a FOMO perspective, from value perspective, because then there's certainly some games I would have bought which I haven't bought. I'm just trying to be normal here and looking for games that I want to play. So let's just grab 3 random blind picks. 3 random blind picks out of the shelves. I'm not going to really look at the shelves, just run the finger across it and pick anything out. What do we have here? Okay, bad example. This was one I bought for FOMO. The story about this game is that when it came out, they apparently didn't have the Cooking Mama license. And there was also some other things going around with this game being a Bitcoin miner. So I thought this game's gonna explode in price at someday and be very collectible. So I bought it, and I can't regret it because I'm never gonna play a Cooking Mama game. Why did I buy this? Why is it here in the collection? Okay, let's pick something else from next shelf here. Japanese title here. Without looking. Front Mission 2. I really want to get into the Front Mission games. And with this remakes, I kind of started on the first Front Mission and burned down on it a little bit because it's one of the grandfathers of strategy RPGs, I feel. But to that degree, the first one is very basic in a lot of ways. I hope 2 is better. There was a bit of a story that seemed interesting, but it is a lot of the same graphics that you're looking at over and over again. But hey, must have a lot of fans since they remade it, and 2 as well. I might as well pick this up for completionist's sake, right? And it might be a lot better than the first one. Who knows? Pick another one here. Mother Russia Bleeds. This was a limited run game release, I think. No, special reserve release. That's another low print run. I don't know if this got a massive, a widespread physical release, but Mother Russia Bleeds is a fantastic beat 'em up. Really, really great. Up to 4 players, if I remember correctly. Very, very edgy and hardcore. Yes, up to 4 players. It says here on the back. And any beat 'em up fans should definitely check this one out. It has fantastic, stylish, and very cool pixel art and very, very gritty, violent game. Let's go down here, pick another one from this shelf. This one here. Rhapsody. Who can't stand for these kind of NIS classic RPGs? This is an old RPG, which I want to say this is a sequel or the prequel to the other Rhapsody game. Maybe it says on the back. Well, it's got to be 2 sequels. Rhapsody 2 and 3 here we have. Fall in Love with Adventure. And these were Japanese exclusive games that we finally have here on the Switch. And that's what the Switch is known for my sake. It's a lot of old and obscure niche games that finally gets a new life on a Nintendo Switch with brand new translations. I love old games. More old games, please and thank you. Okay, let's look down here and pick something random. Ninja Turtles The Cowabunga Collection. It's a collection of a lot of pretty much all of the old Turtles games that you'd want. Anything from the arcade to the NES to Game Boy, and just a treasure trove of artwork that the concept art and all sorts of cool extras. So pick this one up if you can. Moving down to the to the bigger shelf here with some of the collector's editions here. A lot of big boxes, and this isn't all of the collection, by the way. I have some even bigger boxes, some of those really ridiculously massive boxes that Nintendo did. Looking at stuff like Fire Emblem, 3 houses and Metroid Dread, just massive boxes. Let's not look too much and just pick one out here. Gun Pixies, very interesting third-person shooter where you're basically a small pixie running around in a girl's dorm room as a tiny character, and then you have to shoot her. And this is fun because it feels like it's been made by people who have never ever played a third-person shooters before. It plays controls just horribly. You have absolutely no idea. But fun premise, I gotta say. Alright, let's just pick another random one from the bottom shelf here without looking too much. What I have here, can't see it from this angle. This is 7 Pirates. Oh, get an angle here. This is 7 Pirates H. And this was one of those very, very Japanese PlayStation Vita games. And if you know about the Vita, you know it's exactly known for these kind of games. These are characters, girls going on a pirate adventure, looking for treasure, magical treasure that will expand their breasts. So that's the premise of the game. You go hunting for pirate treasure in order to get larger breasts for your characters. Fantastic. And this is on the Switch now. Out of Japan, another translated instant classic straight on to the Switch. Games for everyone. So while I haven't had a lot of time to play all of these games, all of these 299 games, there is a game I have been playing a lot, which is this one, Paper Mario RPG. But before that, let me just say that game number 300, I have a lot of games that I want to buy, but also have a lot of games in the pipeline, you know, limited run games, strictly limited games. All these labels have, you know, you pre-order a game and then it takes like a year or two to arrive. So I have a lot of those games in the pipeline. So I think game number 300 is going to be a mystery. But for now, Paper Mario RPG, let's take a closer look at it. I kind of think it should be a rule for all role-playing games that the first companion you get in the game is just smoking hot. Well, you guys know what I mean, right? I mean, not conventionally attractive, but you know, right? Baldur's Gate fans, you know.
Familiar with the, well, I shall not say culture. Custom, perhaps. Best to keep quiet, lest any drivel leak from your lips.
But Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door, I've never played any of the Paper Mario games before, so I was just as surprised as anyone that it would be as good as it is. And I think it's really carried by the fact that someone over at Nintendo have some genuinely funny writing going on. And I've never really been into the Mario video games in general, because I don't really like platformers all that much, to be honest. I think they're kind of annoying to play. But this one is great, and it's so much more than just an RPG. It has some very clever use of puzzles that you have to solve with abilities you get throughout the game. And then you can go back to earlier levels with some of the abilities you earn to find new secrets and new stuff. It's very cleverly designed. And I want to say they put out some sequels that was a little bit too gimmicky and got some bad reviews. But I mentioned this game to a couple of friends and they all said, hey, you really gotta check out Paper Mario and the Origami King, which is the last original Paper Mario game which got released on the Switch. Might not be Switch game number 300, but I'll put it on the list and add it in the future. It's really amazing to see what Nintendo can get out of 7 or 8-year-old hardware. Just look at the reflections alone in this game. Just the way the 2D characters look against the 3D backgrounds. Just a beautiful, beautiful game. Not sure how long it is, speaking of long games that I played earlier, but I have spent 15 or 18 hours so far, and I'm still a couple of stars away from the ending, I think. But I better get back to it before that Star Wars Outlaws game comes out, because then I'll just end up sinking a ton of hours into that one and forgetting everything that happened in Paper Mario. Oh well, back to the grind. Have a great day and thank you for watching.